The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must therefore be a fox to recognize traps, and a lion to frighten wolves. The Prince Machiavelli. Well, here Machiavelli is emphasizing that ruler, you must have traits of fox and lion. This animal metaphors describe that ruler must possess cunningness to understand different scams, traps, and here she must skill in deception. Also, ruler must have strength. Ruler must be a person with great stamina who can able to deter enemies through sheer force. A ruler who relies only on brute strength will fall into traps. One who have capacity to understand traps and also have ability to overcome traps, not just identification of the traps, but how to handle the situation. Whether I should need force to tackle this, whether I need diplomacy to handle this thing. If ruler is going to do mastery over all these things, then that ruler is an ideal ruler. So while you're going to doing so all these things, you don't require to follow all sort of morals which are very common in a society because ruler has a different set of morals and ethics. Rulers are not bound by principle which is perhaps followed by commoners. These ideas are were provided by Machiavelli. He was a realist scholar. Before Machiavelli, even the ideas were there and people were using. Since after the Machiavelli, the ideas are there and people are using this. But nobody says that I'm a Machiavellian person. But inside, everyone is a Machiavelli. Everyone uses Machiavelli principle. And this is, I think, quite inevitable to use all this thing. Because we are in a cutthroat world, in a competitive world, and everyone is trying to thrive. I'm not saying that right now we have huge scarcity, food scarcity and all. But though we are not witnessing the manual scarcity, however, when it's come to status, when it's come to who is going to win the race, we have still that competition, okay, that fearsome competition, where nobody going to recognize you. They only recognize you whether you have strength, whether you are cunning enough to assort and ensure your own right or not. This is what happening in international politics these days, isn't it? The might is right. I'm might. I have stamina. I have everything. I can render my force and I can totally destabilize. I can totally dismantle whole civilization. There is no rules regulation. There is rules regulation obviously, but nobody cares about all these rules and regulation. So it is very evident that in statecraft, politician statements use Machiavellian principle to ensure national security. And in some cases, people use Machiavellian principle to ensure personal gain. Saying in some cases would be wrong, but most of the cases. But nobody is going to tell you that, this is the way you should even chase this way to gain these things. When they are going to conquer something, even if they have conquered that particular thing with the help of Machiavellian principle, they will tell you a very decent way, okay, that you should go in this way, you should, basically follow this path. Why society hide Machiavellian principle? Because it is quite barbaric in nature, quite harsh truth. What is it? Yes, it's a harsh truth of society. There is truth, but nobody accept it is a truth. They only know how to use. When it's come to personal sphere, your existence is more important than others. We are in a network of social Darwinism. Who is going to thrive and who is not going to thrive? And in such problematic situation, in such dilemma, in such predicament, the only solution which you witness is a Machiavellian way to get out from that precarious situation. That's the reason it is quite obvious that Machiavellian principle is a age-old principle. It's an evergreen principle. People are going to use it. People are going to use this thing in future. Since it is used by people. Whether it is wrong to use Machiavellian principle, I wouldn't completely disagree that it is wrong to use Machiavellian principle. Machiavelli was a diplomat, and all these principles, whatever Machiavelli written in his book, The Prince, It was meant for rulers because statecraft is a really, really delicate job. It requires certain kind of principle which is perhaps going to surpass what common standards established in society. Because you are talking things in a broader level. You are safeguarding interest of a large population. So you need to use these things if it is really critical for you. Okay. But rulers use Machiavellian principle for personal gain. That is not correct. I am not here to tell you what's correct or what is not correct, but I am going to tell you Machiavellian principle is perhaps evergreen in nature. It always works. Okay. And why society hides? Because it has a negative connotation. And if something is negative in nature, society doesn't actually prefer to glorify it. It use it actually uses all this principle. Sorry, correction. It uses all this principle, but it's never going to tell you in a glorified way that you should even use. It is a common consensus. It is a situation. It is a dilemma. It is that circumstance which will compel you to follow the path of Machiavelli. This is the harsh reality. Might is right, and might changes authority and its uh, execution according to his own circumstances. This is what happened in society. You can witness that. So this is all for today's session. We're talking about Machiavellian way to pursue something. And the conclusion is that society used Machiavellian principle. And one should have this trait of strength and cunningness to understand trap and navigate life in a meaningful way. And it will definitely going to help that person to thrive. Because all question boils down to one thing, whether you are going to thrive or not. And when it's come to thriving, I believe human being act like animal and it is ready to do anything. That is why Machiavellian way click at very first instance. So this is all about for today's session. Today we are going to conclude here. I hope you like this audio. However, this audio is not for others. This audio is perhaps for me only because I'm trying to understand what is Machiavellian way. Should I need to use this principle in my day-to-day life? Because I have witnessed and throughout my life, I am quite ethical and logical and someone who always write principle. Should I rethink all this principle? Should I think about Machiavelli and Machiavellian principle? Should I use that cunningness to deceive someone? I need to rethink. And that's the reason I'm using this platform to question it, to understand it. Because question is perhaps an inquiry. Inquiry gives you direction, and direction is important, which actually going to navigate you. And I must ensure that I'm going to get right kind of directions while doing this session. Thank you for all listening me. Bye.